Hello, it's a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Our top stories in the news tonight: the UPND administration accused of lacking a job creation strategy. UPPZ President Charles CHANDA to implement parallel CDF in KWACHA constituency. LUSAKA boy with imperforate anus starts receiving treatment. In international news, clashes in Tripoli kill at least 23 people. And in sports news, NKANA beats BUILDCON by 3-1 in the FAS MTN Super League.
It's census time. The 2022 Census of Population and Housing will be conducted from 18th August to 14th September 2022. The census collects a lot of data for use in various aspects of social and economic planning for the country. We are all required to participate in the census by being counted. You will be counted from your usual dwelling place by a census enumerator. Please receive and cooperate with the census enumerator and provide the required information when you will
after coming out of
be visited. Your responses to the census questions will be treated with strict confidentiality and will be used for statistical purposes only.
Hi, I'm coming to count you.
Because everyone counts.
This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency with support from the UNFPA.
Hello once again, another news in detail. An 18-year-old juvenile who recently came out of an abusive marriage in Lusaka's Kanyama compound is now seeking financial assistance so that she can go back to school under the re-entry policy. The victim, who physically suffered at the hands of her 24-year-old husband, identified as Noton Motoka, says she dropped out of school in grade 2 and can neither read nor write. The juvenile appeared on Camnet TV a few days ago, explaining how her decision to end a 3-year abusive marriage resulted in her angry husband setting fire to her clothes and that of their 2-year-old son, as well as some household property. More in this report.
An abusive marriage a few weeks ago, an 18-year-old juvenile of Lusaka's Kanyama compound now seeks assistance from various stakeholders to help her go back to school. On the 18th of August 2022, the 18-year-old, whose name has been withheld for security concerns, appeared on Camnet TV narrating a predicament of how a 24-year-old husband, identified as Noton Motoka, burnt her clothes and that of their 2-year-old son in a fit of rage after she called it quit to their 3 years marriage due to domestic violence.
Police was wakambati afunika agwiriwe. Bamusakira kuri police so nongole ruso apasakiriwe. Stiza kwana tabiro za muntu asakiriwa. Aveni veteze ambana kudara inamba kudara ndewe. Teze stats kambana so tabe kubeko neze peka report on police. Beze Syria chekwe kuti pena ngona kuri amami sineze peleka report bezipela chekwe bapongozi wanga. But kwa kula pongozi wanga tikambo yambana pebezi ninyamkira wose.
Memory, not a real name, now wants to go back to school and better her life. She tells this reporter that she cannot write or read as she dropped out of school when she was only in grade 2. With the re-entry policy, she hopes to find herself in class.
Ni sinapunzirepo napera grade 2. Napera grade 2 sinapunzirepo school. Drama zinavuta zeben drama. Tu mpeke school au zinavuta vintu. Zeben drama. Peze kati nifuna punzira beve mami ben drama dadi wanzo zebepo gwira. Nde mwitina kalira so tabantu takulirana. Ndi na kumpesa kati na mita no mita. So hapa ni bepo na idea ngwa ku school. Sinzo mduvanga sinzo munga ntandizirepo mwana wanga ni mwono njezi ntandizire bajamuna wanga kuti ni dise mwana wanga step 1 kwatu ni so chabisa bimboya yawa.
Despite having the burning desire of wanting to go back to school, the 18-year-old juvenile and her family says she needs aid from various stakeholders to finance her education. Her mother, who is a trader in the city of Lusaka, says she has no capacity to take care of her daughter and her grandson.
Nipempa kwa inenienda nikula mpamvu nilipe amene ndo amene nipemba kukutanga angantandizire kunaini kusogolo mimi skulu pena mwana futi afunika naive kwenda ku skulu so nipemba zakuti ngamtandizire ko mwana kuti angaende ku skulu pamodzi na amai bake so nipemba kule amene kuti mungantandizire.
The sister's victim calls on kind-hearted members of the public to come to the aid of the family.
Bezonetera ripoti tawangasika panso cha beta kambisa ana vasi anapofika pa extent kuti manje chinalangisa kuti angamupa sitasala mulosi because ni mwana mungono ngo kuti apezeke mu chikwati ni chifukwa chakuti becha mavuto ndiye analengesa kuti apezeke mu jafta pesika na mimba so mwamuna ni uja ni tepi jama savage so parana bwa mumenya tikabotenda ku victim.
11 days passed and Norton Motoka is still on the run. The police have already launched a manhunt for him. After burning down all their household properties, he fled from the scene. Community members tried to apprehend him, but to no avail. Efforts to get a comment from Motoka's family proved futile by broadcast time. Camnet TV is keenly following this case. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Some residents of Lusaka's Baoleni compound in Lusaka Central constituency have appealed to the government to consider establishing several water sources to avert the prevailing water crisis in the area. In an interview with Camnet News, Janet Mboa says most of the time they are forced to walk long distances just to access clean and safe drinking water. She adds that the community only has one source known as JICA, where they fetch water, hence appealing to the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company to improve access to the commodity. More in the following report.
By 2030, Zambia seeks to achieve access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene for all and end open defecation, paying special attention to the needs of women and girls and those in vulnerable situations. The country also aims to achieving universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. Despite the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, there are some areas in Zambia that do not have adequate water sources, such as the story of Baoleni compound of Lusaka province. Camnet TV engaged with the community who had this to say.
Government is important. Takuri amenshi tetifu wombe nangu fintuya so amenshi yalinire abako bafire batu wafirisha wa government kwa ati fintu vyaenda vino kumenshi.
Zambia wants to significantly increase water use efficiency across all sectors and ensure sustainable withdrawals and supply of fresh water to address water scarcity and reduce the number of people suffering from water scarcity. The community has since called on government to provide community taps where they can fetch water.
Ndine Janet Boa. Problem ya mechinayo kuno tina problem ya manzi kuno tiribe. Manzi pajaika ya pezeka ya bwela short time ya sira. Tilichena pompi mozi ya jaika. Kulibema pompi yangu yamene ya sewenza. So tindisira vuto kumanzi. Tina vuto ya manzi kuno. Uzapeze katilelo mwatapa mailosi munatapi. So tulina vuto ikulu ya manzi. So yafuni kotianga napo pankani ya manzi. Ndiye mawe yamene ninga kambe chabe.
Jaika ni mozi, manzi ya kavuta. Tienda kutapa kumafamu kutali. Ero pa jaika pa ya pamankala vantu. Makamaka malaiti ya kaenda. Tingala tilibe manzi. So moyo wa muntu ni manzi batikire konzero bakansera kani wa MP bamuno so tachika kutari tiwashira pano manzi yavuta.
Government is mandated to support and strengthen the participation of local communities in improving water and sanitation management. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A 3-year-old boy of Lusaka's Kalikiliki compound, Teddy Mwanza, who has an imperforate anus, has started receiving treatment at the University Teaching Hospital, Children's Hospital. 2 weeks ago, Teddy's family featured on Camnet TV, complaining of how his treatment has been delayed despite an assurance from doctors at Zambia's biggest hospital. Surgery was done on the 3-year-old some weeks after his birth, when doctors made a temporary measure, an opening on his stomach to allow him to pass west. More in this report.
Born with an imperforate anus, 3-year-old Teddy Mwanza of Lusaka's Kalikiliku compound has started receiving treatment at the University Teaching Hospital, the Children's Hospital. Teddy, who has been suffering since birth, has a birth defect that happens as an unborn baby is developing during pregnancy, meaning one has an improperly developed anus and therefore can't pass waste from their rectum out of their body. 2 weeks ago, Teddy's mother appeared on Camnet TV, wondering why her son's neck surgery has delayed, adding that she was informed in March 2022 by doctors at UTH that she was going to be called for her son's next treatment. In an effort to try and assist the family, this reporter contacted UTH Public Relations Officer Natalie Mashikolo, who advised that the mother goes to the Children's Hospital and see how she can be assisted. Lucky enough, baby Teddy is now receiving treatment.
Vanani nabwela kuno ku UTH vanabwa vamupima mwana kuti vamupime blood vanapeza blood lilo so vananitumiza kuvana kuti vamuike blood mwana futi yenze yovutako so palasti manje vabwa vamuika blood so after vamuika pa blood ufunika futi kubwerera kuja kuti bloko pansi nje kwa mine vafunikira manje vaende vapitilize vane vama operation.
Although Teddy might have commenced receiving his treatment, the family cannot afford to provide for him food advised by the doctors. Mrs. Mwanza, who is unemployed and has 3 other children, says due to economic hardship that the family is going through, they cannot afford to provide the required meals for Teddy, as advised by medical doctors.
So nipempako vamine vanganitandizeko kuti vanitandizireko paliva mwana na kuvala madaipa nivovuta sinikwanisa kuti mwana zavala chanu zapezeka maybe libe madaipa tundira pa bed futi pangala niponana pazizire. So nipempako vamine vanganitandizireko kudya kwa mwana nikovuta mwamene alili so na operation pamala afuniko muchitopareti kuti azichitira toilet kunsi amachitira toilet pamala kudya nikovutika mwana nsimo kamutiesa nshazambo vutika mumala tiniziva operation ya mwana kuti tizafika kapena nima tizankala tizateking how long mu hospital siniziva.
He is just 3 years old and continues to suffer more than most people can understand. Doctors made an opening on Teddy's stomach to enable him pass waste. The measure was a temporary one done on the 3-year-old who has no control over his bowel movement. Hence, his mother constantly keeps his opening covered with a piece of cloth. By 2030, Zambia in its Sustainable Development Goal number 3 seeks to achieve good health and well-being, ensuring healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Civic Forum on Housing and Habitat in Zambia has observed that Zambia is mostly likely to fail to achieve Sustainable Development Goal number 11 if the right measures are not put in place. SDG number 11 seeks to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Organization Executive Director Grace Mutonga notes with concern that the implementation of the national housing policy has remained poor, thus making effective housing development a far-fetched dream. Ms. Mutonga tells Camnet TV News that there is a need to facilitate an effective system to make it easy for every Zambian to own a house. She has proposed that part of the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, can be used towards facilitating the construction of social housing in the country.
We know that the resources are scarce, but then when you look at human development actually circles around the aspect of housing. For people to be productive, they need to come from a secure home. But what is happening now is already even the 2022 budget, the budget allocation towards housing is less than 1%. Of course, we are glad to note that in the 8th National Development Plan, strategies have actually been put in place with regards to support the delivery of housing. But having a strategy and a plan and a policy is one thing, but facilitating the implementation of the policy is another. And without adequate resources being provided, it will still remain something that we shall continue to talk about year in, year out. So what we are not seeing is that there isn't some form of deliberate effort from government to support housing delivery. We like the initiative around the CDF. Can't part of that CDF go towards building social housing in all these councils, city councils and municipal councils? So these are some of the strategies that we are constantly trying to share with government to say that we know that the resources are not sufficient, but with what we have, what is it that we can do?
Opposition political parties have accused the government of lacking a blueprint for job creation in the country. Patriotic Front Media Director Antonio Mwanza has charged that there is no specific policy direction on how the UPND administration intends to create jobs in the country. And Leadership Movement President Dr. Richard Silumbe says the government must target to create jobs in the production sector such as agriculture to absorb more youths. He notes that most young people lack opportunities, hence they end up indulging in illicit activities. Patrick Soko has more in this report.
For youth empowerment, to grade 12 certificate. Grade 12 certificate. Why no jobs? For to myself, that's my complaint.
As of 2019, the labor force employment was at 2.9 million, while Zambia's population was estimated at about 18 million, meaning many people are in the informal sector or doing nothing at all. However, the ongoing census of population is expected to give a reflection of the current rate of unemployment in Zambia. And talking about unemployment, the recruitment of enumerators and supervisors under the census program reviewed high levels of unemployment, and Opposition Patriotic Front Media Director Antonio Mwanza has charged that 1 year in office, the UPND government has no strategy on job creation.
They don't have any economic plan of exactly how they are going to create jobs. If you want to create jobs, these are the things that you do. Number one, you reduce the cost of doing business. How do you do that? You reduce the price of commodities that are essential, such as fuel. When fuel goes up, the cost of doing business goes up. The cost of transport, of storage, of everything goes up. And this is the reason why many companies today are closing. Tuntemba in compounds are closing. So if the cost of doing business is high, then you can't have a private sector that is creating jobs. When the private sector is going down, it simply means that government cannot create those jobs. So there are no jobs that will be created under this government. In agriculture alone, we have about 70 to 80% of jobs. Agriculture has been killed. The price of fertilizer has moved from 650 kwacha per bag to 1,000. The price of seed has moved from 300 kwacha to 470 kwacha. The price of chemicals, everything has gone up.
And Leadership Movement President Dr. Richard Silumbe believes focus must be directed at creating jobs in the production sector through massive recruitment under institutions like the Zambia National Service, besides the health and education sectors.
The budget in the New Dawn government doesn't even have a word about creation of an industry, creation of a manufacturing center, creation of a factory. All these ways that are important for us to be on the road to development, because the economy runs on the wheels of production. For as long as there is nothing talked about in the budgets, it's all about consumption as we have seen it, we are not going anywhere. It's high time we become productive. We make use of all institutions that can be used for production and encourage, provide provision of jobs to young people, millions of young people, so that they become productive. And with that, we are going to see the economy developing again.
However, the government has been making assurances to create the much-needed jobs for Zambians. One only hopes those aspirations will come to pass before 2026. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia President Charles Chanda says once the people of KWACHA constituency vote for their candidate, they will implement a parallel CDF program to benefit the people of that locality. The opposition United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia UPPZ has fielded Shadrack Mumba for the September 15th polls. Mr. Chanda says once the people of KWACHA support its party candidate in the September 15th poll, he will inject his own resources into the constituency. He tells Camnet News that he has adopted all the 17 community schools in the KWACHA constituency to be providing financial support. The opposition leader says he will implement a land program, bragging that he has more land than the local authority.
They've been oppressed by the former regime. The new government doesn't care about the community schools, so I'm saying this is the time. Get an MP who will think about you. Let's not even talk about the other things. So this is why I've gone for that. And I'm saying I want to assist the KWACHA constituency. And you know, what I've decided to do, this will be the first constituency with a parallel CDF. I'm going to provide the CDF not from government, but from my pocket to make sure that we develop KWACHA. Look at how many youths are not working. I am giving them one mine, one emerald mine wa KWACHA. Nalaba peroko kulufwa nyama. Aba youth ba mu KWACHA balasa mkuomba ku emerald mine. Who can do that? So those of you who are teachers not employed, don't worry. I've taken over all the 17 community schools and I'm going to provide employment. The youth who were affected by Black Mountain, don't worry. As long as you are in KWACHA, I've got 6 emerald mines. So one of them, I'm going to use it to provide employment. So I'm not just coming to talk, no. This is time to do work. So KWACHA nganam kwata mano, saleni, MP wa UPPZ, ewala mwafuilisha, because I want to help you. And apart from that, I want to see how we can sort out the issue of land. The people are suffering. If you look at Amaya and Defo Akula Mkwacha, how are they going to live? Government has got no land. I have more land than the government here in Kitwe. So you have to decide.
Meanwhile, the Operation Young Vote on the Copper Belt has challenged candidates who have successfully filed in their nominations for the KWACHA and Kabushi constituencies, respectively, to avoid political rhetoric. OIV Copper Belt coordinator Rogers Nyurongo has called on candidates to refrain from making unrealistic campaign pledges. Mr. Nyurongo points out that fake promises undermine the credibility of the electoral system. He adds that politicians must stick to their political party manifestos.
Experience a lot of candidates who have come and gone, whereby they give them a false information. But this time we want people to get a full information. They should cast their votes according to the informed decision, where they get a good information. So these candidates, they should preach what they will do for the people, because the people are expectant. There are a lot of things which they expect from these people, from these representatives. So they need to make sure that the message they are packaging to the will be the voters. It is a information which will make voters to make a good and informed decision. We don't want people to cast their vote just because they have been given money, they have been dished out with some other benefits, but we want people to cast their votes according to what the information they get, that this a person will represent us in the National Assembly, and whatever our concerns will be looked after and will be addressed as these people will present us now.
You're watching Camnet Television News. We'll take our first break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
It's census time. The 2022 Census of Population and Housing will be conducted from 18th August to 14th September 2022. The census collects a lot of data for use in various aspects of social and economic planning for the country. We are all required to participate in the census by being counted. You will be counted from your usual dwelling place by a census enumerator. Please receive and cooperate with the census enumerator and provide the required information when you will be visited. Your responses to the census questions will be treated with strict confidentiality and will be used for statistical purposes only.
Hi, I'm coming to count you.
Because everyone counts.
This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency with support from the UNFPA.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Some residents of Luchi B area in Kapiri-Mposhi district in Central Province have lamented over the non-availability of the social cash transfer program in the area to benefit the locals. In an interview, headman Chikakwa Robert Chabawe says majority of old age men and women in the area are not on the social cash transfer program, hence finding it difficult to address some of their challenges due to lack of resources. He has since appealed to government under the Ministry of Community Development to consider placing the aged in the area on the program so that they can benefit.
So napo palidanda weli kalamba sana ile tuledanda ule akweba ati social cash transfer kuno ile tupita kwamba tatua issue so ya pape nena polo twa mfaba Joy Foundation baisa nabo nomba twa monoko batiri mbikwena twala kwatako wafundisho wakweba ati bonse fwe bachekulu abambi kuti mwatu wafurisha kuma monomo tunge kalira kuno kunchende ya Lunchubi area ali lembesha ko mwaka wa 2015 tapali chachitika kunangu chimo emashina onse takwa basona kaina isalembesha tapali nangu chimo cho chile chitikako apiu to government ishapokera pwechi chonse cho vanga sukapo nangu chimo so yapa nomba na rando kutira abengi sana bali kuno bambina bafika mu 90 years na bambina atuisa nabona kanopela.
A 44-year-old man of Lusaka has survived a fire accident after his vehicle mysteriously caught fire and burned to ashes while he was driving. Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga has confirmed in a statement to Camnet News that a man named Paul Nyirongo, aged 44, reported at Kanyama police station that his BMW worth 40,000 kwacha caught fire whilst he was driving along 55 Road in Makeni Villa. Mr. Hamonga says the accident happened in the early hours of the 28th of August 2022 between 23 hours to 0130 hours. Mr. Hamonga says a police patrol rushed to the scene and found the vehicle completely burnt with only a metal frame remaining. The Zambia Police Service in Lusaka has since launched an investigation into the cause of the fire. You're watching Camnet Television News. We take our second and final break. We'll be back with more international and sports news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. And now in international news, clashes in the Libyan capital Tripoli resulted in at least 23 dead. The clashes between rival factions vying for the control of the country erupted on Friday and continued during Saturday. 6 hospitals were hit and ambulances were unable to reach areas affected by the clashes, according to the health authorities. Meanwhile, opposition leaders and civil society associations gathered in the Central African Republic's capital, Bangui, on Saturday to demonstrate against the attempted revision of the constitution. The protest was called one day after President Faustin Archange Touadera ordered the creation of a committee to rewrite the constitution. One opposition leader denounced the initiative, accusing the president of trying to scrap the two-term presidential limit set in the constitution. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Clashes in the Libyan capital Tripoli resulted in at least 23 dead. The clashes between rival factions vying for the control of the country erupted on Friday and continued during Saturday. According to the health authorities, 6 hospitals were hit. Civil society institutions in Tripoli appeal to everyone to be calm, and we remind them of the prohibition of bloodshed and intimidation of civilians, and that legal and criminal prosecution will affect everyone who was the cause of the situation in Tripoli. God preserve Libya. Abdul Hamid Dbeiba's Government of National Unity, GNU, installed as part of a UN-led peace process following a previous round of violence, is challenged by a rival government led by former Interior Minister Fatih Bashaha. Bashaha claims that the GNU's mandate has expired.
Clashes between rival militia groups in Libya erupted in the capital Tripoli on Saturday. Supporters of Haitham al-Tajuri, the leader of the Tripoli Revolutionaries Brigade, fought with armed groups linked to militia leader Abdul Ghani al-Kikli. Witnesses say al-Tajuri's TRP defeated al-Kikli's forces to take control of the internal security headquarters, holding 3 people and seizing several cars. Libya has faced conflict and instability since a NATO-backed uprising killed the former dictator Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. The country was divided by rival administrations, one in the east under military commander Khalifa Hifter and a UN-supported administration in the capital of Tripoli in the west. Local media reported that the coastal road linking the cities of Al-Khoms and Zlitan were closed as forces from Misrata affiliated with rival Prime Minister Fatih Bashaga moved towards Tripoli.
It's now time for sports news. And in sports news, the Mulambo Haimbe Foundation has 28th August 2022 sponsored a sports tournament that has seen men and women participate in different sports disciplines in Bauleni area of Lusaka province. In an interview with Camnet Sports, founder of the foundation, Mulambo Haimbe, says strengthening sports disciplines in the country will eradicate illicit activities among young people in the country. More in the following report.
Sport is said to play an important role in helping promote social and economic development in Zambia. With 82% of the country's population below the age of 35, sport is a practical way to target young people to promote physical and mental health and well-being, as well as to build social cohesion within the country. Government's leadership should then provide a clear strategic focus and policy direction for all stakeholders on the development priorities that highlight how sport can contribute to the country's economic status. In supplementing government's effort, the Mulambo Haimbe Foundation has 28th August 2022 sponsored a sport tournament in Bauleni area of Lusaka province. Camnet Sports interacted with a founder who had this to say.
In Kablonga Ward 19 of Lusaka Central Constituency, in Bauleni specifically, at Bauleni School Grounds, where we're hosting tournaments for the women and the men as a mode of celebrating our democracy. This is sponsored by the Mulambo Haimbe Foundation. It's a non-political event, but basically for Lusaka Central, for all the 4 wards to be here. And we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary since the last election. Why are we celebrating it? Well, because obviously it's a testament element of our democracy. It's a sign that we are uniting as Zambians, and this is one of the forms of unity.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Art has set a target to support all sports disciplines across the country. Haimbe has urged the youth to engage in sports activities.
And this is why we have this flagship tournament. I think right now we want to be able to show that there's no blue, black, green, yellow, any color when it comes to these things. Of course, we have most of our communities have got young people that are predominantly referred to as junkies, those that are addicted to alcohol and other substance abuse. And we want to use sport, as you've rightly said, as a means of saying, let's come together, let's be together and deal with these ills. And of course, we spend our energy effectively on the ground.
Sunday, 28th August 2022, witnessed Kablonga and Independence football teams participate in the tournament. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet Sports, Lusaka.
And still in sports news, in the MTN Super League Week 2 results, BUILDCON lost to NKANA by 3-1. Green Buffaloes won the match played against Chambeshi by 2-0. Green Eagles beat Muza Football Club 1-0. The game between Kabwe Warriors and Forest Rangers ended 1-0 in favor of Forest Rangers. Kansanshi Dynamos lost to Prison Leopards by 2-0. Napsa Stars and Kwazi played to a barren draw. Changa Rangers outshined Zanaco by 2-1. And finally, Zesco United have been switched by Red Arrows by 1-0. To end Camnet Television News, we take a look at stories making headlines once again. The UPND administration accused of lacking a job creation strategy. UPPZ President Charles CHANDA to implement parallel CDF in KWACHA constituency. Lusaka boy with imperforate anus starts receiving treatment. In international news, clashes in Tripoli kill at least 23 people. And in sports news, NKANA beats BUILDCON by 3-1 in the FAS MTN Super League. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from the book of 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15, and it reads, Praise the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Once again, thank you for watching the news. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Have a good night.